With the 2023 NFL Draft now over, that doesn't mean that the Pittsburgh Steelers are done adding to their roster for next season. With that being said, the Pittsburgh Steelers signed 7 undrafted free agents to the team. Here's a list of guys that they signed. Wide receiver return specialist Jordan Byrd from San Diego State. Center Trevor Downing from Ohio State. Quarterback Tanner Morgan from Minnesota. Defensive end James Nimoire from Merrimack. Linebacker David Perales from Fresno State. Fullback Monte Potabomb from Ohio. Kicker BT Porter from Clemson. So the Steelers signed 7 undrafted free agents, and they aren't done. They're probably going to sign around 3 more because they still have 87 players on their roster, and usually you have 90 going into the season to battle out in training camp. So the Steelers are still going to sign more guys, but for right now, they signed 7. So I didn't want to make an individual video on each guy, so I'm going to go over everyone right now in this video. So if you want to know more about the player, stay tuned. So let's start off with wide receiver and the return specialist, Jordan Byrd. He comes to the Steelers from San Diego State, where he played 58 games. He had 47 career receptions for 219 yards and 1 touchdown. He carried the ball 275 times too. So obviously that means that he played a lot of running back and receiver at San Diego State. He ran the ball 275 times for 1,353 yards and 12 touchdowns. And in 2022, he had 102 carries for 290 yards. So maybe you could think of him like a Cordell Patterson type, where he played wide receiver and now he's running back, or just vice versa. He could do both. Even though he's more of a return specialist, he still can battle out in the Steelers because he is a special teams guy, and we know the Steelers like a special teams wide receiver on the team. So let's see how he battles out in training camp. The Steelers also signed center Trevor Downing. He made his move to center from Ohio State in 2022 and started all 12 games. He was second team All Big 12 selection, and he was an offensive anchor for their team. The team averaged 369.8 yards per game and 261.8 passing yards per game, the 3rd best in school history. So they signed him. And they also signed quarterback Tanner Morgan. The Steelers needed a 3rd quarterback on the roster because right now they only have Kenny Pickett, who's obviously number 1, and then Mitch Trubisky, who's number 2. Mason Rudolph is still a free agent, so they didn't have a 3rd quarterback on the team. And now they signed a quarterback, Tanner Morgan, who played his football ball in college at Minnesota. And he set numerous school records there, including season records on most passing yards with 3,253 in 2019, and touchdown passes with 30 in 2019, and passing yards per game with 250.2. His final season he played in the East-West Shrine Bowl, the Hawaii Bowl, and was a trophy winner finalist. He won 33 games for the Golden Gophers, completing 661 of 1,603 pass attempts for 9,454 yards and 6 touchdowns. So they signed a 3rd quarterback to the team. More than likely, they're going to sign another quarterback. So usually go into training camp, they usually carry 4 guys, and they cut it down to 3 when the season actually starts. So expect another quarterback to be signed along the way. The Steelers also signed defensive end James Nimoire from Merrimack. He played college, and he played 10 games in 2022, and recorded 27 tackles, and 20 of them being solo stops for the team. He also had 5.5 sacks and 1 forced fumble recovery. So they signed him, but he's not much of a defensive tackle. He's really on the lighter side for a defensive tackle. He only weighs 290 pounds. Usually a defensive tackle, nose tackle, is more of a bigger guy so they can absorb the run, but obviously it seems like he has more an advantage in the pass game because he's on the lighter side, so then that might not benefit him in the run stuffing. But Steelers add another guy to the defense line. They added a lot of guys in free agency to the defensive line, so now I guess they're going to have a lot of battles to do in camp to see who actually makes the team. It might be a surprise if he doesn't make the team, but at least the Steelers sign a guy and give him a chance at the defensive end position. So the Steelers signed him. And now the Steelers also signed linebacker David Perales. He finished his career at Fresno State with 22.5 sacks, the 6th most in school history. And he started 13 of his 14 games in 2022, and a career high 11.5 sacks and 16 tackles for loss. Those are actually great numbers because a lot of the guys that were drafted in this year didn't even have that much sacks. But I guess because he might be undersized or whatever it is, he actually fell and didn't get drafted at all. I heard that name before, David Perales. I'm not exactly sure who he is, but I know I heard that name, and the production that he had in college was actually lost. A lot. Perales had 2 forced fumbles and 1 interceptions and 5 pass defense in 2022 a lot. So his stats had been pretty good in college. Let's see if he could transfer that to the Steelers in 2022 for their season. We all know the Steelers need another outside linebacker, edge rusher on the team, and adding David Perales, he might even be able to make the team. Because right now the Steelers only have TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig, the guy who they just drafted in the 4th round, and David Perales. So that's 4. And the Steelers usually carry 4 outside linebackers, edge rushers. So he has a good chance of making the team if he performs well. So this is the guy right now, out of all the signings of undrafted players, which I believe has the best chance of making the teams. So, fullback Monte Potabomb. The Steelers signed him. The Steelers really don't need another fullback because they already have really 4 tight ends on the roster right now, and Connor Hayward can move to fullback because he played a lot of that in college. So the Steelers really don't need a fullback, but obviously adding a guy who has great hair. We all know the Steelers love having people who have great hair, and he's another guy, and he just looks like a Steeler. He looks like a nasty guy who could put your face down and get dirty if needed, and is not afraid to get his face in the mud and block. They need a guy like that, and the Steelers obviously add another guy to the roster and having more battles for fullback in training camp. The Steelers have not signed Derek Watt back to the team. He was obviously the fullback for the Steelers last season, but so far he hasn't signed back. So meaning having another guy at a fullback position could really help the Steelers if he does end up making the team. He played 45 games in 4 seasons at Ohio State, starting in 13. He had 20 carries for 82 yards and a touchdown. He also added 10 receptions for 85 yards. He's a fullback and mainly only a fullback. He's not one of these tight ends that go to fullback. He's a fullback. So the Steelers also signed the last guy I'm be covering, kicker BT Porter. He finished his Clemson career as one of the most successful kickers in Clemson and ACC history. He finished hitting a career 73 of 97 field goals and 234 of 235 PATs, and he holds a lot of records for that. So the Steelers signed a kicker. But the thing is though, the Steelers really don't need a kicker, especially a guy who's only ever hit a 52-yard field goal as his longest. If Steelers were going to get a kicker, you want a guy who has a bomb of a leg and could kick from anywhere, like past 60 yards, like these great kickers. But the Steelers already have Chris Boswell on the team, and he's a very accurate kicker, and he's under contract for a lot more years. They just signed him last year to basically the 2nd highest contract for a kicker in NFL history. More guys have signed, so he's fallen down that ranking, but the Steelers obviously have one in Chris Boswell, so adding a guy in BT Porter is basically a guy for the practice squad, or a guy the Steelers just could see, just in case if Chris Boswell goes down with the injury. They have more experience and more knowledge on the backup guy. We've seen that last year when Chris Boswell went out with an injury. They had to sign some guys. So, BT Porter, I expect him to be on the practice squad or at least have a chance to make a different team if he performs well in the preseason and in training camp. So, with that being said, these are all the reports on the Steelers' 7 guys they've signed in undrafted free agency. Let me know down in the comments below, how do you feel about each of these guys, each of these centers, these offensive linemen, these wide receiver, defensive line, quarterback. Let me know how you feel, all these guys, down in the comments below. And how do you feel about the draft just in general? Do you like it? Do you not like it? And who else would you like the Steelers to sign in undrafted free agents out there? Let me know down in the comments below. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well if you like Steelers content, analysis, reports. Like the video, turn on post notifications down below for this channel as well, so you get notified whenever I post the next Steelers video. Click the bell down below so you never miss out. I've been covering all of free agency. Now I'm covering all the draft. I covered every pick for the Steelers from 1 to round 7. Every pick. And now every more guys that they're going to sign in undrafted free agents, just know I'm covering it. If they sign more free agents in veterans, just know I'm covering that as well. So everything with Steelers rumors in the upcoming weeks, leading all the way to next season, I'm on it. So, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys all later. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.